Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. Interstellar Links. Gobekli Tepe is one of the most mysterious archaeological sites on the planet. Forget Stonehenge and pyramids, this is the biggest mystery of the ancient world. It was built roughly 12,000 years ago, making it around 7,000 years older than Stonehenge. It's boggled scientists' mind ever since it was discovered in 1994 because of its vastness, complexity, and it shouldn't even exist. Most archaeologists agree that Gobekli Tepe was the world's first observatory. It was built when no other human settlements were being constructed. People 12,000 years ago were mostly still living in caves or roaming the land as nomads. They didn't build towns. They hardly had any technology beyond stone knives and bows and arrows, yet Gobekli Tepe was more advanced than some stuff created by the ancient Greeks. We don't know who built this temple, what it was designed for, or how it was constructed. Some have speculated this was the original Garden of Eden from the Bible, while others say primitive humans built it with the help of extraterrestrials. Some experts say the temple structures aligned with stars in the night sky, and that the creators were part of an ancient race of people who worshipped the stars as gods. Whatever the case, the truth of Gobekli Tepe has the potential to change history. This was the first place we know about where humans got together and put their brains to work, creating a megalithic structure out of stone. We don't know how they built it, considering they didn't have the tools to do so, and there isn't even any evidence that people lived here. Archaeologists have found no burials, no houses, nothing but the temple itself. It's a total historical anomaly and one that we know very little about. Number 9. The myth of the Magi. In the Bible, the Gospel of Matthew starts and ends in just 12 short verses. The story of the mysterious Magi who came to pay homage to the baby Jesus is told within the Gospel. The Magi are described as mystical wizards from faraway exotic lands, expanded upon later to create the story of Christmas, which we still tell to this very day. The mystery here is figuring out if the supposed wizards really existed, and just who they were and where they came from. It's the interpretation of the story told in the Gospel of Matthew which has the potential to change the biblical narrative as we know it. The issue is that this story has been embellished throughout the centuries. In the original account, the three kings visited the Virgin Mary after she rode her donkey into Bethlehem. But they didn't visit her in a stable. There was no manger. It was actually a cave. In the beginning, perhaps they weren't kings bearing gifts. They were wise men or wizards of some sort. It wasn't until much later in the 3rd century that the story really took shape. The Magi became wise men, then they were transformed into kings, and then they came bearing all kinds of gifts. The story of the Magi, like many other parts of the Bible, was embellished in the centuries following the death of Christ. And if we look at these stories for the myths they might be, we see the Bible not as a historical record, but as a collection of stories that changed and grew depending on who told them. Number 8. The Tunnel of the Gods. Archaeologists in Turkey have just discovered incredibly rare ancient carvings of Assyrian gods. These carvings were found in a mysterious underground complex, described by archaeologists as unprecedented. The carvings could point to the use of soft politics in the world's most powerful empire 3,000 years ago. The scene depicted in this underground complex shows 6 gods, including Hadad, the god of storms, Sin, the god of the moon, and Samas, the god of the sun. They were found scrawled into the rock after a secret passage was uncovered in the village of Basbuk, leading into an ancient underground fortress. Archaeologists have since identified hundreds of feet of passages and staircases going deep into the bedrock, all carved sometime around the 8th century BC. Experts even recognize the name Mukin Abwa carved into the rock. We know this name from ancient Assyrian records. He was the governor of a local province 2,700 years ago. It looks like archaeologists found a missing piece from history. The governor appears to have ordered the construction of this underground complex, but the work ceased when he lost his place as governor. It shows that politics were a thing even thousands of years ago. In soft politics, one ruler started some project or passed a law, only to have the project abandoned or the law overturned when the next ruler came to power. This happens every 4 years in modern democracy, and it was apparently happening in ancient Assyria as well. Number 7. The Pyramid Battery. New information has proved that the Great Pyramid of Giza can indeed concentrate electromagnetic energy. Some pretty crazy fringe theories say the pyramid was once used as a massive power source, perhaps to charge alien technology, and now it seems there is some truth to the pyramid battery theory. The Pyramid of Giza was built 4,500 years ago, making it the oldest wonder of the ancient world. It's 456 feet tall and has hidden chambers inside of its base. Even though experts are still working to solve the mysteries of this ancient marvel, it appears to have some connection to electric and magnetic energy. A team of researchers from the ITMO University in Russia created a model of the pyramid, then measured its electromagnetic capabilities. They discovered the pyramid could absorb this energy, trapping it within the mysterious chambers near its base. Keep in mind these experiments were done on a tiny scale, but the scientists say that if similar experiments were recreated on a massive scale, the pyramid could operate like a battery. It could store electromagnetic energy inside it the same way solar panels store energy from the sun. But whether the Egyptians knew this, and whether the pyramid was ever used to store energy, is a complete mystery. Number 6. Ancient Roman Service Station. In the English countryside of Hertfordshire, archaeologists discovered something that's going to change the way people viewed the Romans. Not majorly, but at least a little. This unique discovery came at the site of a football pitch that was being built. During the construction, ancient ruins were found, and archaeologists had to be called in to investigate. They discovered an ancient service station, the Roman equivalent of a rural gas station, complete with roadside attractions. There was likely an inn to provide beds and refreshments at the site. In addition, there was a blacksmith, a temple for the religious needs of travelers, and other amenities. According to the project manager, Andrew Grief from Oxford Archaeology, the station had everything a weary traveler could have wanted. 2,000 years ago, someone traveling with a donkey and a buggy would have seen this place, stopped, enjoyed a good meal, had their cart fixed, and purchased knickknacks before moving on to their destination. This shows just how advanced the Romans were in all things. Even at the furthest extent of their empire, they had little mom-and-pop service stations to help travelers go on their way in comfort. Number 5. The landscape of Stonehenge. A new study by researchers at the University of Southampton has revealed the prehistoric landscape that was once around Stonehenge. This was 4,000 years before the initial construction of the monument. The area around Stonehenge today may be nothing but highways and fields, but it used to look quite different. The study is changing how we see this part of England and showing us just how truly wild the landscape once was. The biggest surprise was that researchers confirmed the landscape to be a partially wooded area. This was shocking because experts believed the entire region was covered in dense forests before people came in and started chopping the trees down. But it wasn't. It was only sparsely wooded and populated by wild cattle, red deer, and roaming boar. It was a perfect hunting ground and made the ideal place to settle for early humans who needed access to wild animals and suitable land for farming. Before this study, scientists assumed the early humans of the Neolithic period came in, chopped down all the woods, and cleared the land to build the tremendous megalith. But now that we see what the landscape looked like, that probably wasn't the case. Instead, early farmers and monument builders hadn't needed to cut anything down. They had perhaps built Stonehenge right in the middle of the woodland, surrounded by forests and wild grazing animals. And that was kind of unexpected. Number 4. Nostradamus and the Zombie Apocalypse. Nostradamus was the great French plague doctor, astrologer, and prophet of the 16th century. He wrote the book Le Prophète in 1555, and it's been used ever since to predict war, natural disasters, revolutions, and even nuclear attacks. But can reading Nostradamus's book of prophecies really give us a glimpse into what the future will look like? That all depends on your interpretation of the words in his book. Some say Nostradamus predicted the death of Henry II in 1559, and even the arrival of Adolf Hitler in the 20th century. He wrote in his book, "The blood of the just will commit a fault at London, burnt through lightning of 23's the 6th." While that may be a little difficult for modern people to understand, what he seems to describe is the Great Fire of London in 16 1666. This was when the entire city nearly burnt down, all supposedly predicted 100 years earlier by the great prophet. So what does he have in store for our future? He prophesied that in 2021, few young people half dead to give a start. This prediction seems exceptionally vague and could be talking about a zombie apocalypse or a virus ravaging young people. Nostradamus said that in 2022, the price of wheat would cause men to despair, and that's pretty shocking considering that in 2022, inflation and starvation have hit an all-time high, and wheat is more expensive than ever. His next prediction might have something to do with the rise of artificial intelligence and a nuclear winter. Pretty grim, and let's hope that Nostradamus is wrong. Do you think he was a prophet or just a really good guesser? Number 3. Egyptian Stargate. A stargate may just have been identified in Egypt. The supposed stargate is at the Temple of Abydos, one of the oldest necropolises in the country. The temple was built by Seti I over an even older temple that contains unknown secrets. Interestingly, Abydos's pharaohs and religious cults of Egypt believed it to be the closest entry point between our world and the next. A group of priests called the Order of Melchizedek had their home at the temple. There isn't too much known about these mysterious priests anymore, but what little archaeological evidence we have has shown us that they were highly respected. They supposedly had some kind of secret knowledge of the cosmos and knew how to bring humanity to a higher level of consciousness. They were also supposedly the gatekeepers of the portal, or the Stargate, hidden inside the temple that could transport people across space and time. Nobody has ever actually found the Stargate, but some believe it could be hidden underneath the current temple, buried thousands of years ago by the pharaohs who didn't want this information to get out. We don't know, and it could all be a myth. Or there could have been a Stargate powered by some ancient advanced technology, and whoever was last to use it also destroyed it and buried it. Number 2. Ancient city in South Africa. The ruins of a walled city have been discovered in southern Africa, and they could just be rewriting the history books. This lost ruin in Mozambique dates back even further than Gobekli Tepe, estimated to be 200,000 years old. The reports coming in about this mysterious place are a little suspicious. The ruins aren't much more than rocky walls piled in uneven circles, with what almost appear to be roadways connecting various parts of the sprawling city. Obviously, something once stood here, some great city belonging to a lost civilization, but there have been no artifacts found, only the ruined walls and strange leftover paths like narrow roads cutting through the desert. The dating at 200,000 years is highly controversial and was supposedly reached by calculating the dolerite erosion, but there is nothing about this from any significant scientific source, and no trusted archaeologists have confirmed the dates. So it could be ancient, a city made by primitive monkey men or alien visitors, but more likely it could be no older than a few centuries, built by desert-dwelling nomads. Number 1. Early Maya calendar. In the remains of the Temple of Las Pinturas in the San Bartolo Pyramid Complex, archaeologists have found something fascinating in Guatemala. This discovery could just change Maya history as we know it. The pyramid complex is known for its impressive murals and fantastic ancient paintings that show a mix of humans and Maya deities. These murals were painted about 2,000 years ago, just after the major pyramid at San Bartolo was constructed. While experts from the University of Texas were analyzing the wall fragments, looking at the murals, and deciphering the ancient hieroglyphics, they found the oldest Maya calendar ever. The calendar had only 260 days on it and was used way before the murals were painted. Archaeologists believe this was the oldest calendar used in the Maya kingdom, probably for several centuries before 300 BC. This changes history because it means researchers do not know where the first calendar originated or even when. The Maya were probably using it during the Middle Preclassical period between 1000 and 400 BC, but they were likely inspired by the Olmec, who came before and had developed their own mysterious way of tracking days, seasons, and important ritual events. Thanks for watching! Which discovery do you think will actually rewrite history? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!